Okay, I'm on the line with Dan Walker, a resort property manager for vacation rentals, short-term rentals. These are typically properties you buy in markets like tourist markets like Orlando, Las Vegas, Myrtle Beach, along the coast of Florida. If you ever bought a property like that and you want to use it almost as an investment and a second home, it's where you make money on it when you're not in it because you're renting it to transient tourists, and then occasionally you're actually going to use it yourself. That's what Dan specializes in. Very distinct and different from the typical 12-month lease that we're used to with what we call the long-term rental properties. So over the course of this phone call, you're going to hear me asking Dan, and by the way, Dan and I have not talked about his business yet. This was actually something I intentionally wanted to record, so you're hearing me ask these questions of Dan for the very first time, and these are the questions I'm going to be asking any property manager when it comes to short-term rentals. You'll get a feel for how you're supposed to ask questions for a long-term rental company as well, or management company. So, but this is specifically for vacation rentals. So those of you that are considering purchasing any of the communities that Dan is going to be in, these are going to be the answers for you. We're going to be relating them to one community in particular that you may or may not know about. And by the way, if you want to know more about this particular community that Dan is running in, because as all of you already have heard me say before, the property manager is more important than the property itself. And also many times investors put so much emphasis on the property and very little time on property management, or they just simply go with whoever their agent referred them to, which would be the biggest mistake in the world. And it causes, frankly, a lot of investors to throw the baby out with the bathwater and just clean their hands of the whole property investment experience altogether because they had such a horrible time with the property manager. And it will make or break, number one, your bank, and also your perception of what property investment in the U.S. is like. So without any further delay, Dan, if you want to say hi to the audience.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much, John, for inviting me to talk with you today, and I'd be more than happy to answer all the questions that you've got. So, and anyone else who may have a question, after the fact, I'm reachable, and I can provide the contact information as well.
Okay, awesome. So I already kind of pre-warned Dan that we're going to put him through the grinder here, and I'm going to drill him on everything that you possibly could want to know about a property manager. So I went through the property management agreement, which is obviously the first thing that we all want to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, pick it apart, and then I've got it all marked up in front of me. I've also got the financial performance and the expenses in front of me on some of your fees and so forth, but I'm going to save that for the second half of this phone call. So let's go right into the property management agreement. Can you tell me very quickly the two most important things, by the way, everyone, just so you know, with a vacation home property manager is, number one, their capacity to put heads in beds, basically to monetize the property for you, to drive income essentially. And then number two, to protect your property, obviously, so that it always stays in really good condition and maintain it when you're not there because you're owning this from long distance. So let's talk about, generally speaking, can you give me kind of a 30,000-foot view, what you do to put heads in beds, how you're different from other property managers in the area?
Yeah, in a very general overview, we are full service. So if we talk, let me just start with that from the standpoint of being full service, meaning just that, in terms of looking after the property itself, and then also marketing the property for rental. So we have all of this.
Let me stop you right there, because I think most people don't realize that distinction is, what Dan is saying is that he maintains the property and he markets the property. You have some companies out there that only do one or the other. And so sometimes you have to source two different groups, one to look after it locally, and they don't have the contacts, relationships, the marketing resources to monetize it. And then sometimes you have to find, because of that reason, someone else to actually market the property and make commissions on just putting heads in beds and filling your schedule. So what Dan is saying, that he actually accomplishes everything, so they're essentially a one-stop shop. You don't have to find two groups.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. You're absolutely right, John. So at the highest level, we've got all of the services in place to take care of all of those things. We've got a reservations group, we've got marketing, we've got cleaning, maintenance, both handyman as well as the specific trades in terms of replacing pool heaters and pumps and air conditioning units and all that kind of stuff. In addition to that, we also can help with having a number of folks who are buying in the Orlando area specifically are not from the U.S. So, and when you purchase a short-term vacation rental, the federal government, state, and local governments all look at it as a small business, so we have to treat it as such. So we'll obtain licensing for the owners in their name and on their behalf. We can also help them obtain their U.S. tax identification number, which is a requirement. We also have contacts with respect to putting them in touch with property and liability insurance for the property. And we work with some excellent interior designers as well who can do things, provide the furnishings and painting and whatever the case may be. And even though we're talking about the dream community right now, we also can do full renovations. So we've done a number of those in terms of, granite countertops, tile floors, new carpets, full paints, exterior, interior, that kind of stuff. So when we say we're full service, we truly are at full service. So, you had asked a specific question about marketing, John, and how do we drive the traffic into the properties? And we've got a multi-pronged approach. So the first is our website, which is www.itrip.net. Now that's the first site. That's kind of like the mothership. So we load all of the information on that particular site, all the properties and so on, postings, calendars, rates, all of that kind of stuff. But then our program is such that, and this is where we probably differ quite a bit from our competition, we mainly deal directly with the vacationing consumer, and we do that through multiple web portals that we post the properties on. Portals that are the largest ones in the world for short-term vacation rentals, such as Vacation Rentals by Owner, so VRBO, HomeAway, Flipkey, TripAdvisor, VacationRentals.com, and 15 international websites. And that's in addition to our own website. So,
do you, by the way, Dan, do you coordinate all of that for them, or do you just say we agree to work with you if you want to do those by yourself?
No, matter of fact, we coordinate all that, and this is the real plus. We do have a $740 annual marketing fee, but that pays for all of those sites. So we'll do it all. We will load all the properties, load all the pictures. All of the inquiries come into us, whether it be through through emails, through phone calls, whatever the case may be. That $740 is actually about a 100% discount off of what if an individual were to buy all of the different sites themselves and then try to manage it, the amounts would be upwards around $1,500. So it's a pretty good deal, and we can achieve that based on the number of properties that we have with all of those sites. In addition to that, we also have, and we're as far as we know, we're one of the few, just because of our size, that we also have linkages that are set up so that two things. One is that if an inquiry, I guess, lands on VRBO, for instance, likes it, wants to book online, they can click a spot, it'll come directly to our website, and then they can just do the booking online from VRBO through our website. So that makes it very, very convenient. In addition to that, our system is synchronized so that the calendars are up to date on the websites. They're not real time, but usually within 24 hours. They'll synchronize about once every 24 hours. So any changes we do with respect to rates or descriptions or those kind of things will be synchronized up as well. So in addition to that, we do a lot of search engine optimization management, marketing, and optimization. And we've actually got a group out of Connecticut called Webamax. They are also this SEO team for Sam's Club and Marriott Resorts and so on. And they do all of our SEO stuff. So meaning that we do remarketing. We'll drop cookies on folks when they come and visit our website. They're doing about 80 articles per month. And some of those places are Pinterest, Facebook, and other social media sites. But in addition to that, articles that are being posted on various other similar type of websites. We're doing about 50 videos per month. as well. So Google, Yahoo, Bing, they all really want to see fresh content and new content as much as possible, so that the whole searchable, the findability piece of the business is strong. So we've got all of those things kind of working, but where I was leading with all of this is that we only have a few travel agents that we work with. We get contacted a lot, but we found that most travel agents, and there's really nothing wrong with them, but there's a fair amount of discounting that takes place, and the payment terms are not necessarily favorable. So we've really kind of set our model up to not really work with those folks. The folks that we do, we've got terms that are favorable to us. And so they do provide some bookings, but it's a very small percentage of the overall amount of bookings.
Okay.
So hopefully that helps out a little bit.
So, and those tour operators, if I can call them that, that was one of my questions, was what percent would you say are actually booked through them, and what's the impact to the fees?
Yeah, what we'll do is we've got of all of our bookings, I would say we're maybe 10% possibly of our bookings will come through them. The rest are coming from everybody else. And then what we'll do is we discount. We've either got two approaches. One is that the tour director can take our rate and then add to that, and then they can mark it up and charge the guest, and then the tour director books directly with us. Or we'll provide up to a maximum of a 10% discount off of our nightly rate, and provide some cash back that way. But we won't really go 10% is about our max.
Okay, so essentially then, for someone booking through these tour operators, because some people book almost exclusively through these guys, that in your case we're only giving up 10% on 10% of the gross on only 10% of the total bookings anyway.
That's correct. Well, but I'll be clear too. I mean, in this industry, it is very, very common for people to negotiate rates. So our posted rates, you always want to try to stay with your posted rates by all means. But conditions change. There's conditional issues that take place all the time. So let's say, for instance, we've got somebody who's looking to book next week in a property. We don't have any bookings in that particular property. They call up. They've got a budget that's 10% less than. And this is not a tour operator or travel agent. This would just be a person just looking to make a booking. They may call up and say, "We got a budget 10% less than what you got. Would you take that?" Sometimes we'll have multi-month bookings, and they'll want to negotiate rate in terms of multi-month. But so there's certain times of the year we just won't discount, but there are other times, such as the fall time of the year is somewhat slow in the Orlando area. May, early part of June is somewhat slow. So we'll be more keen to kind of talking about negotiating a little bit during those times than we would some of the peak times, which is Christmas, spring break, Easter, summer times, that type of thing. Okay.
And then what about for the owner who does their own bookings? Maybe they have their own website, or they put papers up on their bulletin board at the office or at the hospital where they work or whatever. What happens in those cases?
Yeah, good question. Two things. One is that we don't have, I'll back up for just a half a second. We don't have any restrictions on the owner's use of the property. So if the owner wants to use the property for 1 week or 7 months of the year, that's entirely their call. It's their property. It's their investment, and we're a service to them. So they can, they just notify us, or they have an owner's portal that they can go into and block out the dates and themselves, and that's fine. The only thing we ask is that we do the clean at the end of their stay, so that we set the property up for the next guest coming in. We have paper goods and shampoo and those kind of things. As well as if there's friends or family of the owner that are non-revenue generating, we have the same, the policy's the same. So there's no cost. We don't charge anything. We just ask that we do the clean at the end of the stay. If, however, there is a revenue-generated booking by the owner, in the scenario that you had mentioned, all we ask is that we retain the master calendar. They provide us the name the contact information, the dates, and the amount that they would like to charge their particular guest. They provide that to us, and we'll take it from there. So we'll communicate with their contact. We'll have them sign the rental agreement, collect the money, take care of, get them in the property, collect the sales taxes, pay the sales taxes, all the same things that we would do for a normal booking that we would take. But for all of that, in terms of our partnership approach, we cut our commission in half. So it'll be 10% versus our 20% commission. So we'll still take care of everything for them, but in appreciation for that partnership, we'll cut our commission in half.
Gotcha. Okay, that's great. That's very reasonable. And then what about, while we're talking about the owners, and I'm going to kind of bounce around here, I want to make sure I don't forget anything, is that particular property there at Dream, let's talk about like their own personal possessions, because I know a lot of the owners they have a lot of times with these properties have a private closet that they only have a key to that they can access while they're there visiting. And I take it Dream actually has those private closets, is that correct?
There is. There's one closet. I believe there's one closet upstairs that will be their owner's closet.
Okay, excellent. So if they have some clothes they like to wear, pictures they want to put up while they're down, or just some things that they want to pull out only during their visit that's secure when they're not there, they can do that. But
absolutely.
The property manager is not liable for any of those materials.
That's correct, and we wouldn't we wouldn't have a key either. The only we have some houses where there may be in the owner's closet there's a water heater or something like that. If there's a utility or a piece of mechanical equipment that we would need to have access to, that's the only time we would ever have access. But the majority of them do not have anything in them other than it's a locked closet, and we don't have access to that, nor do we want it.
Okay. And now let's talk about communication, because communication is a big one for property managers. Typically, property managers that have good infrastructures in place will have a communication platform that allows the owner or investor to be able to log in online remotely. As long as they have an internet connection, they can actually see income, expenses, reporting, end of the year reports, and so forth for tax reasons and that sort of thing. Do you have a program for them to do that?
We do. There's an owner's portal that for each of our properties, they can see exactly that. They can see the name of the people who are booking. They can see the number of nights booked. They can see the rate charged, any maintenance issues, exactly like you had mentioned. But in addition to that, matter of fact, we're closing out the month of June now. So by July 15th, so by the 15th of the following month, we send out an activity report to all of our owners, which will show the activity on a monthly basis in their particular property. And then all of our properties, what we like to do is all of our owners have a U.S. bank account, and we do ACH direct deposits into their checking or savings U.S. savings account, and then they see that that transaction come through as well. So okay. Yes, we have both of those.
Okay, and the ACH I was going to ask that as well, so that's good. But let's talk about in the very beginning you had mentioned maintenance and furnishings. Let's talk about that for a second. A lot of times, I know that a lot of property managers will abuse their maintenance, the maintenance on the house, meaning that they're going to, because they make money on or profit, it's a profit center for them. They make money on maintenance on a house. The light bulb goes out and they got to get that replaced, or a sprinkler head they have to get fixed. Or I understand things that legitimately break, but when there is profit to be made on those types of things, there's almost an inherent conflict of interest. Do you guys make money when something breaks with a house?
Great point, and that's another differentiator. Two things there. Number one is that we provide light maintenance items such as air conditioning, filter changes, remote control batteries, smoke detector batteries, door lock batteries, and normal incandescent light bulbs are all considered light maintenance under our process, under our system, and we don't charge for any of those. So we would charge for halogen lights, spotlight bulbs, those kind of things. Some of those things, retail for like $4 or $5. So we do charge for those, but outside but outside of that, all the rest of those items there's no charge for. Then in addition to that, any maintenance item, if we did have to replace an air conditioning unit, so let's say it's a $4,000 job to replace it, we don't mark up any of our maintenance. So we'll still take care of it, just like we would anything else. But we've chosen exactly that path to not generate a profit or have a profit center generation off of those kind of activities. I've heard we know of way too many horror stories along those lines. I really wanted to distance ourselves as well as differentiate ourselves from a lot of my competition who does do that. So we have not and never will do any kind of markups on maintenance.
Okay, great. And that includes like the furniture, if a chair needs to be replaced or something to that effect. Because I know a lot of folks out there, a lot of property managers get good healthy kickbacks on furniture.
Correct. Yeah, the folks that I deal with, I don't do that. So here's a couple of things. One of the things that we don't do, we've got a couple of folks that we refer to, and we refer to them because they do a darn good job. But I have no financial interest in that. So, and I like to keep it that way so that we don't. So it's very clean. The work that they do is very good, and that helps us generate rentals, and that makes an owner happy. It makes us happy because that's how we make our money as well. But I have no financial interest in that. In addition to that, well, probably this is just a short sidebar, and that is that we also, for any referral from a realtor that comes in that we're successfully able to manage and rent the property, we will have we provide some free advertising, in the property, some kind of small, kind of tastefully done stuff, and then we also have a small banner ad that's on the website on that particular property, so that it says something like, if you'd like to, learn more about owning a beautiful property like this, contact John at your website address and your email address. Should there be a sale that comes out of that, and there have been multiple sales that have been generated as a result of this process, we don't ask for any type of commission or kickback or anything like that on that either. We just like to have the opportunity to be able to be put in the running to hopefully manage it going forward.
Gotcha. No, that's fair. That's great. And so far, this is a pretty easy interview. You haven't said the wrong answer to anything yet. I was hoping maybe we'd dig something up here to make me look better, but this is really good. I feel really comfortable with you guys. And I've heard good things about you. So I should probably tell everybody that because of my contacts locally that are in that business, I already had a positive feeling about this interview because Dan was already recommended to me and his company in a positive light. So far everything's looking great. And there's no conflicts of interest, and that's probably one of the biggest things because it's very easy for someone to take advantage of you if you're owning this from a couple thousand, 6,000 miles away or more. Let's talk about the furniture package. I want to get more product specific now because you touched on something that's really important when it comes to the impact, the show appeal, the pictures that people are seeing, because they're pretty much making their decision to book at your property based on the photos they see online of the exterior and interior property. And of course the resort amenities and so forth, which I'll talk a little bit about later and when we get into the product. But can you talk about the importance of really doing your property up nice on the inside, the design, the furnishing, and so forth, as opposed to scrimping on that, and what the implications could be on the income?
Yeah, you really hit on some really key points, and that's exactly right. Because on our website too, so if folks have a chance to kind of take a look at that, when you land on our website, there's going to be one main lead picture, kind of like the money shot, so to speak. We've made our picture one of the largest pictures that you'll see of on any of the websites for vacation rental properties, because through some research that we've done, number one is that photograph, that lead first photograph, is the one that you want to catch the potential renter's eye, because what they're going to do is they're going to be looking at, unless you're the first one to be the luckiest one that they're looking for to begin their search, they usually have been looking at a lot of different properties. So to be able to get that one that's going to grab the attention, number one, it has to be large. It should be colorful, and also it should be clear, bright, lights on, that type of thing. So we do all of our pictures, have them done. We do them professionally and with special equipment and so on. So in addition to that, if you can get somebody to stick on that picture, usually the person is somewhere between 4 and 6 seconds. They're spending on that first picture. If they like that picture, then they'll go to the next one and then kind of drill down further. But you're absolutely right. The picture is the key. You can have all the verbiage in the world, and it doesn't really make any difference. It's what those pictures show. That's where it really is. So how that looks on the inside of a property is pretty key. Now, we recommend accent colored walls, at least a few of them in the house, because it does make a picture, a property jump off the screen. And all white or all one color type of a picture isn't necessarily bad, but it doesn't have the same appeal to most people. Some people like a very plain, kind of a look, and that's fine, but that's not necessarily the majority. So if it is let's just say it's plain without any kind of accent colors, because that's just not what the owner wants, to then be able to spice it up a little bit with some sort of artwork, whether it's metal art or some sort of wall art, some sort of other sort of decoration to kind of help accent the furniture that's in their tables and chairs, that type of thing. We always recommend. So those photographs are key, and a person doesn't really have to go high end with respect to furniture. That type of thing, but also not low end either. Things that we've found, over time, and it's probably common sense, but in a vacation rental property, items get used a little differently than in a home normally. So things like pressboard type of furniture, the bolts will pull through. It just doesn't really last very well. Low end.
I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I think. With the level of detail that we're going into, it's probably important for them to understand that you have people who can do complete furniture packages based on the criteria you suggest to maximize the ROI on that money spent. So this isn't something I should probably let everybody know. You don't have to know all these little details. It's just important to know that Dan understands what those are so that he can work with your furniture folks that we also can recommend to you to outfit your unit to maximize the return on your investment.
Yeah, I think you're probably, quite honestly, by the time you put the electronics, and I'll frame it such that flat panel TVs in each bedroom, plus the one of the larger ones in the living room. You'd have furniture for the lanai, the pool area, as well as for the balcony upstairs. I'd say you're probably going to be in the low 20s.
Okay, so let's call it $25,000 that you're going to put into the property on top of whatever your down payment is on your financing and or your cash purchase. So just kind of keep that in mind, that do not skimp on what you're going to be putting into the house, because that's really what makes it rent very easily. As far as what are some other properties that you guys are dealing with now as far as your portfolio mix? Are you exclusively only doing vacation rentals, or you do some long-term properties? And then let's talk about condos or single family. Do you do a mix of those as well?
Yeah, good question. First of all, we specialize in short term, so that's all we really do. It's two different markets. So as you kind of started with, so we've decided that we will specialize just in the short term vacation rental market or industry. And our portfolio here in Orlando, I mean, we're blessed with a really nice mix, and we've got about 100 properties currently. Smallest one is a two bedroom, 2-bath condo, and our largest is recently we've we recently picked up a brand new 8-bedroom, 5.5 bath in Champions Gate. So we have everything in between there. So we'll have townhomes without pools, townhomes with pools, single-family homes, 4, 5, 6, and now 8-bedroom. We don't have a 7-bedroom yet. So we've pretty much got a mix, and we're in really the we try to stay in. Most of our stuff is in B or we'd say B or A class type of communities. So everything from Champions Gate now, Windsor Hills, Paradise Palms, Solterra now, Bella Vita, those type of places, Vista K.
Okay, that's awesome. Pretty much named all the big ones. Let's talk about the community dream itself. How does that stack up? I know it's more of a value play for investors. They're essentially getting a property there for almost $100,000 less than its equivalent at, say, Paradise Palms townhomes. Obviously, without the robust amenities package and so forth. But when you look at that value proposition, from your experience managing properties in Dream, what is the income like relative to other properties, considering what people are putting in to the house?
Yeah. We're without amenities right now, we're really kind of averaging probably around 110 a night would be an average. And what we're kind of expecting is that and it's a very little known development. There's just obviously not a lot that has been going on there, but nonetheless a nice one. And I think where it's going is really going in the right direction, and that's why we've kind of agreed to work with Lusant and the team, because we really like where it's going. We think that what we've kind of experienced, because we do have a unit in there, a couple of units that we've had for just a little while. Quite frankly, we're probably around the 40% occupied range at the kind of currently, and we've got actually one kind of longer term person in there with us who's going to be in there for several months. So it kind of skews the numbers. So I kind of have to back that out a little bit. But we anticipate we're kind of experiencing around 40%. I think once the community center goes in, and we've got a little bit more activity there, we've got a little bit more marketing that will take place. I don't see why those, because of what the value of those are, the price point. We should be, I think, comfortably in the 50% occupied range, so 26 weeks per year. I'm thinking that's after the community center goes in, and then I think we'll continue to work on that and hopefully improve that as things go forward. It won't, it's not going to compete, as you mentioned, with the Paradise Palms or with the Windsor Hills. It just isn't the same type of amenities. But there certainly is a clientele that doesn't really want all that. They're fine with just kind of having a kind of a quieter place to go to. It's a little bit more relaxed, and the concept of having multiple clubhouses and pools so that you don't have really crowded areas, I think is going to be attractive. So that's kind of how we're thinking that this is going to play.
Okay, and I'm glad you said that, because a lot of property managers are not realistic, and they boast 75% occupancy rates. And you have to understand that with vacation rentals, you're not renting based on months of the year. That's not what your occupancy is based on. It's based on weeks out of the 52 weeks is traditionally the language we're talking. So when you're doing the 50% occupancy, like Dan had mentioned, that's 26 weeks out of the year. And at about 20 to 26 is very reasonable for a new community, especially a value play like this. So I'm going to be working with Dan here in a moment. We're going to be crunching some numbers. I'm going to be validating some expense assumptions here so that we can do a conservative cash flow analysis, a flex analysis, that you as the investor can go in there, change some of these assumptions based on what you are going to do. Because a lot of investors, too, can bump that occupancy up because they have their own marketing in place, or they know a lot of people in their hometown. Like, for example, if you're from Toronto, as an example, there's a lot of demand for people in Canada to find a good value. Canadians are value friendly, right? So Canadians love to find a good deal in Florida, and they love traveling to Florida. So if you work in a big hospital, you know lots of doctors and or you're a teacher, lots of teachers that love to come down to Orlando, and you can book some of these yourself. You can bump that up pretty easily. But I'm glad that, Dan, you were pretty realistic with the 40 to 50%, because a lot of people will tell you 80%, and then you find out that you're only getting 20 weeks rented or 25 weeks rented, and then you're disappointed later. And I'd rather know that up front. And what we'll do in the cash flow analysis is show you what the break-even point is. So minimally, X number of weeks rented equal this covers your expenses and your debt payments or your monthly mortgage payments. Or if you're paying cash for it, here's the minimum number of weeks you're going to need rented to at least cover your expense costs and your tax and your insurance and all the other ones and so forth. Here's one question I have for you. Is if you're managing multiple properties in the same community, how do you ensure that one community doesn't get way more rentals than another one? Is there any subjectivity to it, or is it pretty much a completely objective process? Whoever sees it, it's whatever they book online.
Yeah, and great question, because we really, our model is such that every property stands on its own merit. So we market every property individually. So if it really depends on what the guest is looking for. We don't have a rotation program. We don't really think that those kind of things are fair. Especially when one person might, put in a, $35,000 furniture package and someone, puts in a $15,000, and so it's not, rotation just doesn't quite work with us for those kind of things. So each property is on its own merit. And so if they're looking for something that, has all the amenities and a movie theater and, that kind of stuff, big pools and, tiki bar, then Dream's not going to be it for them. So they won't spend any time there. But for those that don't want that, and there's a lot of people who do not, then I think Dream is going to be a nice option for them.
Okay, cool. And then just to reiterate here that because it looks like most of my questions have been answered. When it comes to, there is an option for for a little bit of an expense here, but it's marginal, that you can actually keep this completely hands-off for the owner as far as paying all their bills, their utilities. Do you also take care of their insurance and their tax bill? Is that an option?
No, we prefer not to. We don't have a problem really of taking care of anything that is associated with the running of the home itself, the actual operation. But when it comes to the ownership issues such as property tax, insurance, homeowners association dues, personal income tax, all that kind of stuff, those kind of ownership issues, we prefer that the owner really kind of deals with their own accountant or something like that with those. But when it comes to things like utility bills, pool cleaning, pest control, sales taxes generated by the rentals, those type of things, that's what we can do. And so our commission, that is one thing I just wanted to mention. Our commission is 20% of the rental, and for those owners who choose to pay their own utility bills, then there is no flat monthly fee. So it's a kind of a pay for performance approach. When there are rentals generated and revenue generated, the owner makes money and we'll make some money. But in the slow times when there's not, then neither one of us are making any money, but we're still looking after the property. The only time we do have a flat monthly fee is when they ask us to pay their utility bills, and we're happy to do that and manage an escrow account. I have a CPA that does that, so I get charged for that. So there is a $35 per month flat monthly fee for that. So that's where that's a good point to clarify.
Okay, that's reasonable. And then, so basically they're on their own for their insurance bill, their property tax bill, and of course their IRS stuff. But when it comes at the end of the year, though, you make it easy for them to work with their CPA because they can just go into your platform and print up their annual report with all their income expenses, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they'll either get a 1099 or 1042S depending on where they're from, but my accountant sends that out each year. So yeah, they'll receive a detailed summary line item report, and then they'll also receive the required report that's got to be sent to the IRS. So they receive actually both of those documents from us, and then they can also see it online.
Okay, awesome. And for foreign investors, for FERPA withholding requirements, you already mentioned, and if you could just say yes or no because we're running out of time on my recording here. But you take care of, well, you'll help them get their ITIN, but then you'll also, you keep the W-8 on hand so that they don't have that crypto withholding. They actually will get the full amount credited to their U.S. bank accounts, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, that's awesome. Hey, Dan, appreciate your time. We're going to pause for a second here. I'm going to stop this recording, go to the next one, and we'll talk about financials, but I only have 43 minutes on these, so I have to kind of stop before that deadline.
Sounds good.
Okay, so this is part 2 of the conversation. I'm continuing with Dan. He is the property manager with Premier Resort Properties and iTrip, and we are going to now go into some of the expenses. This is for all you Excel data junkies out there that want to really know exactly where all your costs are. I'm going to go through them with a fine-tooth comb right now, and so that we can produce a cash flow analysis. If you just want to rely simply on the Excel spreadsheet I put in front of you that has all these numbers in it, this is going to be the source of where those numbers come from, just FYI. Okay, so let's break this down. I'm just going to go high level first, Dan. We rent a house for $700, and let's say we rent, just for simplicity's sake, we rent 4 weeks at $110 a night, which is kind of the annual average on these right now without the resort, the amenities package. So $110 a night, that's $770 a week gross times 4 weeks. Let's say in 1 month we bring in a gross of $3,080, just for example's sake, okay?
Okay.
Can you walk me through what money comes out of that either you guys keep for commissions, that a potential tour operator would keep, that has to go back into the cleaning fee on the property that goes towards taxes? I know some of that's not actually coming out of the owner's pocket because it comes out of the above and beyond that when the customer pays. But kind of walk me through all the money flow here.
Right. Yeah, no problem. We estimate utilities, which would be essentially water and electricity, and also a basic phone, internet, and cable package at somewhere around $250 per month. So give or take $50, I suppose, but we're kind of estimating it at about $250 per month. Pool service will run $55 per month.
So you guys got it down to $55?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got a pool service that we were able to negotiate a better rate, and so just for this community. And then we're estimating some miscellaneous maintenance at around $50 per month.
Okay, so that's your maintenance reserve, miscellaneous maintenance?
Correct.
Okay.
And then pest control at $25 per month.
And pest control is interior, exterior?
It's interior, and then they will do outside sprays, usually once a quarter. And here's how we look at that, John, quite honestly. We're pretty pragmatic when it comes to that. Of our 100 properties that we've got around the area, quite honestly, we've got about 50% of them in a pest control service, under service. But we've got another 50% that we just don't have a problem with. And so if we see that we have an issue, then we'll initiate service. But outside of that, we're monitoring it, and if we don't see that we have a problem, then we're good. So and it doesn't take very long at all to get a service up and running and get the pest taken care of. So we put it in there as an item, but quite frankly, unless the owner absolutely wants to do it, we're recommending let's not do it. When we initiate, and let's just kind of see how things go. So that cost may or may not come into play, but on the conservative side, I would add it in there.
Okay, and then what was that a month again?
25.
Okay. All right.
And then my commission is 20% of the rental.
All right.
Now, what I don't have in my pro formas, I don't have the HOA fee built into this one, and I need to get that in there. So I'm not sure what the HOA, quite frankly, is going to be after amenities are installed, and I don't have a property tax.
What's the insurance do you know what the insurance is coming in at on these?
Yeah, I'm going to estimate. We think it's. I think a number, pretty round number, should be right around $1,000 per year.
Okay.
So, and I think it's $1,000. We should probably use about 1,200, quite honestly, because what we recommend for pool homes is $1,000 for. We would recommend $300,000 liability, and then you have your contents and property damage that is calculated in there. But we also recommend for pool homes owners to carry a $1 million personal umbrella, and because the $300,000 this day and age doesn't necessarily go that far anymore. So the umbrella policy is running about $180, $190, something like that on an annual basis. So we actually recommend both. So for both of those, I think a maximum would be $1,200 a year.
Okay. And then what about, let's see here, the cleaning fee and the taxes is something that the guest pays on top of the $3,080 gross that we're using in this example then, right? So we don't see that as the owner?
That is correct. Sales taxes and cleaning is paid for by the guest.
And then let's talk about some of the setup fees here. I'm going through your list here. Setup and marketing annual is $740. That includes all of those other websites that you had mentioned before, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's a one-time every year?
Correct.
Okay. Keyless coded lock and install. That's when they purchase?
I backed that out. So the copy you have might have an amount in there of $175, but in a recent conversation with Lusant, he said that they were going to be installing the Kwikset or Schlage electronic locks. So then that cost won't be included in my setup.
Okay, good. So install lockbox for keyless lock override. That's also included.
Yeah, that would not be in part of Lusant. That would be us. We do that as part of our process that holds the hard key in the event that we have a glitch with the electronic lock and the guest can't get in. So we'll have the hard key in a lockbox that's right there mounted close to the front door that we can give them a different code they can get in, and then we'll fix the lock that same day or next day.
And I'm going to do kind of an all-inclusive thing here, so they don't have to worry about anything. They just pay you guys. You do everything for them. By the way, how much money do you keep on hand as your emergency reserve?
If we pay the utility bills, I've got in here we have a $1,200 escrow that we would establish. If we don't pay the utilities, and if the owner pays the utilities, I've really taken the approach that we'll generate enough rentals to take care of any kind of maintenance issues. So we won't even hold any kind of a maintenance escrow. So it will be nothing.
Okay, gotcha. And what's the extra cost? Let's see. What's the cost monthly for you guys to pay the utilities?
$35.
If we know they're going that route, then we can just have them send at closing an extra $1,200 so that the title company can just cut you the check outside of closing. They don't have to do a separate wire for that later, right?
That's perfect.
Okay. Let's see here. Electric utility setup, one-time deposit required by utility, only if we set it up. So that's $150. And by the way, that electric setup of $150, that $150, is that included as the deposit? Does that include the deposit, or the deposit, will that be above and beyond the $150?
That's usually that should include the deposit. So after a year, depending on the utility, I think it's Duke Energy there, that money should be credited back. So that's truly deposit. There's usually a deposit and then there's a hookup fee. So we're trying to estimate both in that number. So the hookup fee is non-refundable. The deposit is.
Gotcha. Okay. Certified fire extinguisher. So you put 2 fire extinguishers in the house. Is Lusant not doing that? The owner license, that's an annual as well.
Yeah, line 6. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see, prep clean, tools, signage, skimmer, and brush. So that's just basically some of the basics that you need in the beginning that most don't think to buy.
Correct.
Okay. Miscellaneous setup items, information manual, signage, license frame, $50. Okay. Okay, weekly pool maintenance. $55. Oh, that's a weekly cleaning.
The fee, the $55 is a monthly. They bill us monthly, but the pool is serviced weekly.
Okay, so to establish, well, let me type in those offers. So to establish that paying the maintenance and the utilities and so forth is $1,200 in the beginning.
You know, that's probably worded. That's maybe not worded the best. That's really an escrow account. So or the escrow amount.
Oh, that's the escrow. Okay. Okay, I think I pretty much done it. So then, basically, beyond some of the monthly fees that we already talked about, their utilities or taxes, insurance, HOA, and your 20% rental commission, there isn't anything else. On the occasion that a tour operator sends a renter and they don't make their money by adding on to the advertised rent amount, then is that a 30% total then?
Yeah, good question. We didn't cover that. That commission. So let's say, for instance, it happens to be let's say it's a 10% commission. It's $100 commission to the tour operator. What we do is we'll split that 70-30 with them. So that $100 will be split. The owner takes $70 of that, and I take $30 of that. So that's how we'll split that type of a commission.
Okay, I'm sorry. Say that one more time again, because
I'm sorry. Yeah, let's say, for instance, a tour operator develops a booking for us, and their commission ends up being $100. We split that commission with the owner. So the owner takes $70 of that 100, and I take $30 of that 100. So we'll split that 10% commission.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, so the 10% above and beyond the 20% that the owner is already expecting to pay would be, so really it's kind of like 23%, 23% you, and then, so really then on those, it's 23% of the gross.
That is correct.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so that's really not significant. And that's only 10% of the time anyway.
Right.
Okay. All right, that's easy enough. All righty, then that's pretty much all I have. And they're expecting all the utilities to kind of come in for that whole package, about $250 a month, the water, electric, phone, internet, and cable.
I think so. I mean, we're seeing. I was trying to get a clear picture from Lusant if the HOA is going to take any of that, any of those costs. It's all over the board in some of these resorts. So we're pretty much seeing packages, phone, internet, cable TV come in around $110 or something like that a month. So we would expect these are Lusant's building a more energy efficient property. So we think that the electric utility should be relatively inexpensive. So probably somewhere around $100, maybe $120 or something like that. And we think water and sewer is probably going to be maybe in the $30 range, $20 or $30 range. So it's not real expensive. So
okay.
Yeah, give or take a little bit. I mean, I think $250 is a pretty fair guess. That may creep up to $275 or something like that, but I think we're in the ballpark.
Okay, excellent. All right, that's pretty much all I need to know. Dan, is there anything that the owner would pay that we have left out?
Yeah, there's just some small things, like for instance, the fire extinguishers need to be recertified once per year. That's usually like $25 or $30 or something like that. That's relatively minor. We do an annual deep clean in a property, and we always back those up to a checkout. So, and we try to do those, at least once a year, depending on the traffic in the property and so on. And that would be in this particular case, about another $100. That's annually. So those are pretty small, pretty minor items. So outside of that, we try to really make it so that it's simple and we don't feed people to death, and make this a pretty pleasant, enjoyable experience for the owner. So we just really don't have a lot of extra fees.
Awesome. Okay. Excellent, man. Dan, I think that was very thorough. I'm going to put together a cash flow analysis right now. It'll be in a flex form, so you can kind of change assumptions as you go. And, you can use that anywhere you want. But I'm going to translate all of this into an ROI now and minimum weeks needed to rent at an assumed nightly rate, average nightly rate, to hit break even, whether that's with finance assumptions or without. All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Dan, man. I appreciate your time. I have a really good feeling about you. I've heard good things. So, based on what you shared with me so far, I have no problems referring people to you. And now it's just a matter of seeing if it works financially.
It's very, very kind of you, John. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to working with you and your team. I really do.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
Thanks so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.